It's time to take 10 minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to Parshat Chayei. Why did they send her? We know that Laban, the brother of Rivka, was a very tricky fellow and not exactly the most righteous. As a matter of fact, in the Haggadah, we consider him more wicked than Paro himself, that he tried to destroy the Jews. So we would think that he would not be wishing Rivka well. And therefore the question is, why did he send Rivka to marry Yitzchak? Why did he give permission, together with his mother, permission for Yitzchak to go and marry Rivka, or for Rivka to go and marry Yitzchak? In fact, the Ksav Sofer asks the question along these lines and says, surely the wicked people want wicked things. They don't want good things. So what exactly is going on? In fact, they try to weasel out of it. They try to poison him, according to the Midrash, try to poison Eliezer. They say, well, let's ask the girl. Maybe let's see what she wants to do, as if this little girl's going to want to go all the way with this strange man. But it turns out that she says yes. They said, let's delay for a little bit, for a few days, a few years. But in the end, they give their blessing. They bless Rivka. By Yomale, he said to her, Achotenu, our dear sister, Atayi la'alfei rava, you should be for the thousands of 10,000s, a lot of children. And your children should inherit the gates of your enemies. Now, who's the enemy? Well, at some point in history, the Arameans, they're going to be the enemy, because we fought against Aram many times in Tanakh. And Laban is an Aramean. So he's basically blessing Rivka that her children should conquer their own country. So there are two basic approaches to why Rivka was blessed by her brother and her mother. They're both in the Midrash. One Midrash says that we don't want this prayer to come true at all. God did not want this prayer to come true. God didn't want this bracha to work. And therefore, Rivka does not have any children until Yitzchak prays for her. And when Yitzchak prays, Lanochach Yishto, and next week, Parsha, then and only then would she indeed have children. She was in fact barren based on this blessing. This blessing wouldn't have any effect because God didn't want the bracha to come from these wicked people. The nations of the world shouldn't say, it was our bracha that gave all the blessings to the Jews. No, it's only Yitzchak's prayer that brought the blessing of the many children. However, there's another midrash that says Laban that Laban intuited. He didn't realize. He intuited that they'd be blessed, and he intuited the right blessing. In fact, the Sforno says you should be like the 10th. You should inherit just like God swore to Abraham. In fact, Rashi is not clear what Rashi says, but if you look in the Rashbam, he says, "From you will come children, just like it was told to them at the Kedah." In other words, we know that Abraham was promised that the children of Yitzchak would inherit their enemies. That the same language is used by God, the angel speaking to Abraham after the binding of Isaac, Yitzchak, and by Rivka's family. How did they get the same language? He said, well, they must have been told, says the Shamshon Falursh says, they must have been told in all the discussions and the meals that they had together. Eliezer must have said, my master, Abraham, he offered his own son to God, and as a result, God promised that he would conquer all his enemies. So then they said, oh, let our daughter be the woman who's the mother of all these people who will fulfill that prophecy and will inherit all the enemies. So we have one view that says, God forbid, you think it's the bracha here from this wicked man who's going to make Rivka who she is. No, it's Yitzchak who makes Rivka into Rivka. However, there's another view that in fact they did have a sense of what was going on. They did know what was going on. In fact, there's another piece of the Medrash that says, Birkat Oved Alai Tavo, that sometimes the bracha of the Oved, the one who wanted to destroy us, should come true. And whether it came true with both Esav and Yaakov, or one view in the Medrash is that we're the ones, Revot Alfei Yisrael, we are the tens of thousands of Israel. So she said that the tens and the thousands, tens of thousands, they're both referring to Israel. So again, is the bracha a good bracha or is it a bad bracha? Is it good to get a bracha from the nations of the world, or is it not? At the end of days, the nations of the world will come to Israel. They will bring gifts to the temple, and at that point, we will accept it. Founding of Israel, though, usually we say when it comes to, let's say, a shul, founding of the shul, should be done by the Jewish people. So, founding of the Jewish people, is it all from Laban's blessing? We like to think not. But actually, these words were the words of Avraham, that Avraham received from God Himself. The blessing of the Jewish people, ultimately, at the end of days, will come from the nations of the world as well. But at this point, the blessings come from God at Mount Moriah, when the binding of Isaac took place. The blessings come from Yitzchak. We have to build our nation within. After we, the Jewish people, build the Jewish nation the way it should be, then the nations of the world can come, and they too can add their blessings to us that we should indeed inherit. We ask, why did Laban bless Rivka? When he heard this great success that Avraham had, not only financially, but in terms of the future blessings that he would inherit the entire world and take over the other enemies, then that's why Laban wanted a piece of the action. Laban was very business oriented, and he was happy for his sister, and the mother was happy for the daughter to partake in this nation that would indeed inherit the enemies. But he may not have realized that it's a long journey, that the journey of the Jewish people is a long journey. Required the slavery in Egypt, required the different kingdoms to be born and then destroyed. It required 2,000 years of exile, and we're still working on it. This type of victory is something that Laban wouldn't have appreciated. He wouldn't have understood that. If he knew that that's what the deal was, maybe he wouldn't have blessed her so much. But we know that the journey is long, but it's worth it, because ultimately, we're trying to bring blessing to the entire world. We're looking forward to that day when indeed we can accept the blessings from the Labans of this world, from the nations of the world, and they will all come bring gifts to the Beis HaMikdash, and all will recognize the oneness and greatness of God, and indeed build on the blessings and the building of the Jewish people that began with the Jewish people, began with Isaac, began with God and Mount Moriah, and continues until the coming of Messiah, when at that time the nations of the world will have a chance to give their blessings as well. Thanks for joining us here at the Baron Hirsch Congregation in Memphis, Tennessee. Join us each week for a discussion of the Parsha and the holidays. And thanks to Jason Lefkowitz, our producer. Thank you.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.